everybody. I hope you're having a good day today. A little bit of rain today, but no big deal. Maybe we can use it. And just realize today is the day the Lord has made, and rejoice and be glad in it. And make it a point, make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do something for God today. Yes, some of you are planning on attending midweek services this evening. That's one thing, but do something to share God with others. And say something about God when you're out in public and talking to the checkout clerk or the postman or whoever you come across. Maybe you invite them to services. Who knows? Their soul might be looking for something. All right. Okay. The title of the lesson today is Armageddon Coming Soon. And yes, we hear about this. Every time something starts going bad or going south and people start thinking, oh, Armageddon's on the way. Armageddon's on the way. And there's a big fascination with that. And the funny thing about it, it's only mentioned once in the Bible. There's a lot of things mentioned, a whole lot more that people just ignore. But this one thing they're all worried about. See, every generation before us has looked at the book of Revelation and tried to view it in their time period. Thus, many false concepts have been taught from Revelation over the years. And so we're going to look at what Armageddon is. Things about the Antichrist have been taught by every generation has their own Antichrist. And so that's usually a person or a concept or some evil kingdom. And so the world seems to have many theories about Armageddon and what will happen when it comes. Well, what I'm going to offer to you is a simple explanation, and many people will not like this simple explanation because it does not fit with much of their theology and the theology that they've been promoting over the years. And some will not like this explanation because it will expose them as false teachers who are exploiting the times and get rich or gain power over others because of this teaching. And it appears that much is said about something that is only mentioned once in the Bible. In Revelation 16:16 we read, "And they gathered them together to the place which is in Hebrew is called Armageddon." And then, of course, you look at the footnotes, make mention that some translations use the term Armageddon. So the context in Revelation suggests that a great battle is going to take place here. And realizing that much of Revelation is symbolic in language, a lot of people get some strange ideas from it, and several false doctrines have spurred from the symbolic language. People want to take it literally. And so we look to the deeper meaning of what this is all about. And as we look at the opponents in this great battle, we have the depiction of Satan, his demons, and his followers all taking up battle against the Lamb, Jesus Christ, and his followers. So to put it simply, this is the battle between good and evil. And really, how long has that been taking place? Actually, it started taking place with Adam and Eve, when you start thinking about it. And so this battle has been happening, and in our day and age, the battle's been taking place ever since the day of Pentecost, after our Lord died on the cross. See, this battle takes place all the time. And whenever someone has to make a choice of doing what is right and what is wrong, they are in this battle of Armageddon. And a lot of people don't look at it this way. All right. So where does this battle take place? Well, it takes place in the heart of man. Some people want to think there's some valley over there in the Palestine area or Israel area that all these world forces are going to get together and have the great final battle. No. The Battle of Armageddon takes place in the heart of man. James 1:14 speaks of the fact that a man is enticed by his own lust. And so every time that a person chooses right over wrong or wrong over right, this battle is taking place. In Galatians 5:16 speaks of the war that we are involved in between the flesh and the spirit. And we know what that means. Yes, our fleshly self wants to get involved and then get indulged into the things of this world. And the Spirit says, no, keep your focus on God. And so those looking forward to a worldwide battle called Armageddon are going to be disappointed. See, the battle's been taking place since the church began nearly 2,000 years ago. And this will upset a lot of people because many have a financial interest in having a great war with the nations of the earth battling this great battle. And of course, speaking of nations, many people nowadays assume that the great battle will involve the Americans, the Russians, the Chinese, or some of the Arabian nations. And of course, you go back 100 years and start looking at the writings about Revelation, and it would be other nations that are being involved. You know, over 100 years ago, Japan, it would have been Germany, would have been Italy, and other nations like that. And 300 years ago, it would have been England or somebody, or the Spanish or the Romans. So just whatever. So when we start looking at the history of the Jews, we read of nations as being surrounding peoples. Yet when we get to the prophetic writings, it almost always speaks of nations not as being a specific culture or border, language, and laws, but as a people from every background and place. And so this is easy to see the word is applied to the nation of Israel or the nation of Egypt. Yes, those are specifics. But yet when it says all nations, I mean, it's talking about everybody. I mean, so when Jesus said, go preach the gospel to every nation, I mean, the nation is not who we preach to, it's the people who live in that nation. So that's what it means. And Jesus also said, preach the gospel to every creature. And so, yeah, and we know that's not talking about bugs or animals or plants and trees. I mean, it's people. And so that's what the nations is. When you get in the Bible, a lot of time we're talking about the nations. Yes, there's times when it specifically mentions in the prophetic writings the nations, that those places around Israel. I mean, the Philistines, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, and even those within their own borders. And of course, sometimes the Egyptians there. But it's just talking about those specific nations. And we can make that distinction very easily as we understand the context that it's writing in. And so we read in the prophecy about all nations coming to the mountain of God. We read that in chapter 2 of Isaiah and Micah chapter 4. And it is obvious that everyone will be allowed access to God and the salvation offered by Christ, regardless of their nationality. And so, in years past, many have made the effort to translate the Bible into virtually every known language, and the Bible has spread wherever the Bible has gone. I mean, everything improved in that society when the people followed it. When they decided they didn't want the Bible, their nation suffers. So, now let's get back. To explain the end times and discuss the possible interpretations of the passage in Revelation, I mean, think about this. If you read 100 commentaries on the book of Revelation, you're going to have 100 different meanings. I mean, there are thousands of these books have been written about Revelation and what Revelation means, what it's all about. And you know what? They're all going to be different in some way or somehow. And you can also see this if you look at when these books were written. You read the books written today, and it's going to talk about the adversaries, you know, the Soviet or the former Soviet Union, the Middle Eastern, the Islamic Caliphate, and stuff like that. You read into it. And then 100 years ago, they were talking about Japan and Germany and I mean, for some other nations. So everybody who writes their depiction of what it's about, they usually look at it from their own time period or what's the relevance today. And so we don't need to do that. See, the passage in Revelation can be easily applied to any scenario someone wants to offer. Yeah, they make it sound good. Yeah, the bear and the eagle and the lion and all what they represent. I mean, they come up with all this all the time. And sometimes they word it in such a way, hey, that sounds pretty logical. Yet when we speak in spiritual terms instead of physical terms, the book of Revelation makes a whole lot more sense. It is the battle between good and evil, and that's what it's about. The good, yes, is the Lamb, it is God, and it's God's messengers, and it is the church. The church is the one that's enduring this battle. And of course, we know the church is not some physical structure. It is made up of all those who are saved, who have put their trust in God and obeyed the gospel. That is the church. And so they're fighting this battle against evil. And they're fighting it, number one, individually. Everybody has this battle they have to fight, as Paul said there in Galatians chapter 5. Everybody fights this battle. And the church, yes, we have a battle. Our battle is to keep the church pure. Our battle is to make sure that nothing of the world comes in and infiltrates our church. Now, when it comes to our members, that may be a different story. Yes, they get affected by the world. They get influenced by the world, and sometimes they're not really strong faithfully. But our job as Christians is to encourage them to be faithful and strong and to give them the guidance they need to get there. And so, yes, when we speak in spiritual terms instead of physical terms, the book of Revelation makes a whole lot more sense. So, my friend, you're engaged in this battle whether you want to be or not. Some people just ignore it. Some people realize there's a lot of forces going on in this world that are against God. And if I want to choose my sides with God, I've got to know what I'm up against. And so the only question for you is, whose side are you going to choose to join? Are you going to start practicing evil, wickedness, darkness, or sin? Or are you going to practice righteousness and obedience to God? See, your eternal soul depends upon the choices you make every day. So Armageddon has been here for a very long time, and it's going to continue until the Lord comes again and destroys everything. So keep that in mind. And a lot of people, they just get all upset when they hear the word Armageddon. Oh no, and they get worried about Russia or the Chinese or the Muslims or whatever. No, get that out of your mind. This is a story between good and evil, and of course we know in the end good is going to triumph. And so that's the team we want to be on. Everybody likes to be on the winning team. Everybody likes to support the winning team. You know, when teams go along for years and years and don't get into the championships, they kind of lose a lot of interest. And people start watching teams that are going to the playoffs every year, that have the chance, the potential to go to the Super Bowl or to the World Series. And they start following them, and they're happy when they make it to the great championship game and even win the championships. But when it comes to spiritual matters, we need to be on the right team. Everyone needs to be on the right team. So consider these thoughts, and Lord willing, we'll be back again tomorrow with another lesson, and I hope this has been helpful for you. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.